Hey everyone, welcome back to our little corner of the internet. Today, I want to invite you to sit down with me, maybe grab a hot cup of coffee or some tea, and let's just take a moment to breathe in the atmosphere of these final days of 2025. Can you feel it? There's something very strange going on out there. I'm not talking about the weather, and I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about a storm. A silent storm, but one with devastating power for the psychology of anyone holding cash right now. The story I'm going to tell you today starts with a number that if someone had told you 2 years ago, back in 2023 or 2024, you would have laughed in their face and called them a crazy dreamer. That number is $75. Yes, you heard me right. Silver, the metal people often call the poor man's gold, the metal that for years just dragged along at $20 or $30. Now, right here in the final week of December 2025, it has officially shattered every ceiling to hit $75 an ounce, and at times even teasing $79. Can you imagine what that feels like? It's like watching the quiet kid next door, the one who was always a bit slow and kept to himself, suddenly running faster than an Olympic sprinter. It's shocking, it's confusing, and above all, it's that fear of missing out, or what we all know as FOMO. But today's story is not just about green and red numbers on a stock ticker. I do not want to bore you with dry financial news. I want to tell you about the life of silver, why it's suddenly rebelling like this, and most importantly, how this affects your kitchen table, your wallet, and your sleep. Let's rewind the clock a little bit. Think back to 1980. That's a historic milestone that silver investors always talk about like a legend. Back then, the Hunt brothers manipulated the market and pushed silver up to nearly $50. And for 45 years after that, the $50 mark was like an impenetrable fortress. Every time it got close, it got smacked back down. People got discouraged. People gave up. They called silver the dead metal. But then, on a morning in December 2025, that fortress was not just breached, it was completely leveled. Silver did not stop at 50, it shot to 60, then 70, and now 75. At the same time, its big brother, gold, is hitting all-time highs, and platinum is facing extreme shortages. So what is actually happening? Why is the whole world suddenly going crazy for these cold bars of metal? Let me explain it to you in the simplest way possible, kind of like a story about a village in a storm. Imagine our economy is a village by the ocean. In that village, there are two types of houses. One type is made of paper, that's your cash, your stocks, your bonds, and the other type is made of solid rock. That's gold, silver, and land. For years, when the skies were blue and the sun was shining, people preferred the paper houses. Why? Because paper houses are easy to build, easy to expand, and they look fancy and flexible. You can print more money, you can issue more stock, everything looks prosperous. Back then, the stone houses looked clunky, ugly, and cramped. Who wants to carry heavy gold and silver around, right? But then 2025 arrived. The dark clouds started rolling in. The first dark cloud is named interest rates and inflation. You know, when the economy gets tough, central banks, especially the Federal Reserve, they step in. They start cutting rates. They pump money into the system to save the economy. When too much money is pumped out, the value of that dollar bill in your pocket starts to evaporate. Let me give you an example to make it easy. Suppose the village has only 10 loaves of bread and $10. Each loaf costs $1. But suddenly, the village chief prints another $10 and hands them out. But there are still only 10 loaves of bread. So what happens? The price of bread has to go up to $2. That is inflation. And when the villagers realize their money is buying less and less bread, they start to panic. They look outside and see the storm coming. They start running out of the paper houses looking for shelter. And they see the stone houses. They see gold and silver. But the story of silver is more interesting than gold. If gold is a quiet old grandfather sitting still just to preserve wealth, then silver is like a young blue-collar guy working overtime on a construction site. This is the key point I want you to remember. Silver is not just money. Silver is an essential tool. Look around you. The smartphone you're holding, the computer you're listening to this podcast on, and especially those solar panels covering rooftops and the electric vehicles filling the highways. All of them, absolutely all of them, need silver to function. Silver conducts electricity better than any other metal. Without silver, there is no green revolution. Without silver, the tech world stops spinning. And here lies the tragedy. The industrial demand for silver is skyrocketing, but the supply is running dry. Silver mines around the world have been overexploited for decades. We dug it up, used it, and threw it into electronic landfills without recycling enough of it. 2025 is the 5th year in a row the world has fallen into a silver deficit. That means the amount of silver people want to buy is much higher than the amount being dug out of the ground. When the fear of currency devaluation meets the extreme scarcity of raw materials, it creates an explosion. And that is why we are seeing that $75 price tag today.
I have a friend. Let's call him Tom. Tom is a software engineer, making a great salary. 2 years ago, Tom laughed at me when I bought some silver coins. Tom said, "In this day and age, who holds on to lumps of metal? Put your money in tech stocks to get rich fast." Yesterday, Tom called me. His voice was shaking. He told me that a partner company, manufacturing electronics, had to halt their assembly line because they could not import silver. The price was too high, and more importantly, there was no inventory to buy. Tom asked me, "Is it too late to buy in now?" I stayed silent for a moment. It was a heartbreaking question. Buying at $75 when it has doubled or tripled from before is a huge risk. But not buying brings the fear that it might hit $100. That is the agonizing mindset of the crowd right now. You see, the financial market is really just a mirror reflecting human psychology. When the price of silver shoots up to $79 like Forbes reported, it is not just good news for the people holding it, it is a siren. It signals that faith in the paper money system is shaking violently. People do not trust the promises of politicians anymore. They trust what they can hold in their hands, what has existed for thousands of years, like gold and silver. But I want to pause here for a second so we can all calm down. Hearing this, your heart might be beating fast. You might want to open your banking app right now to see how much cash you have and wonder if you should run to the coin shop immediately. Take a deep breath. In investing, the biggest enemy is not the market. It is your own emotions. When everything is going vertical like a rocket, that is usually when the risk is highest. Silver is a wild beast. It can go from 30 to 75 very fast, but it can also crash from 75 back to 50 in just a few weeks if the news changes, like if geopolitical tensions cool down or the Fed stops cutting rates. Silver is much more volatile than gold. If gold drops 1%, silver can drop 5%. If you have a weak heart, silver is not the game for you. So, through this story about the $75 silver fever, what lesson can we learn for ourselves? And specifically, how should we act?
This is the part I want you to listen to most closely because it applies directly to your life. How do you apply this to yourself? First, change your mindset about savings. In the old days, our grandparents taught us that saving meant putting money in a piggy bank or a savings account. But in an era where inflation eats away at everything and silver and gold keep hitting records, holding too much cash is risky. I am not advising you to take all your money and buy silver right at this peak, but start learning how to convert your labor into real assets. Maybe it is a little gold, some silver, or land, anything tangible.
Do not let the value of your hard work evaporate just because of a printing press decision halfway across the world. Second, never go all in. The story of my friend Tom earlier is a classic example of FOMO, jumping in only when you see the price rising. Folks, once the train has left the station, do not try to grab onto the back of it. You will get hurt. If you do not have any gold or silver yet, just wait. The market always has corrections. Nothing goes up in a straight line forever. When the price dips, when everyone starts getting bored or scared and sells, that is when you should buy a little. Try to set aside about 5 to 10% of your total assets in precious metals. Think of it like insurance. If the house burns down, meaning the economy crashes, the insurance pays out. If the house does not burn down, you still have that asset. Third, take the long view. Do not buy silver today hoping to sell it next week to buy a motorcycle. That is gambling. Buy it and forget about it. Think of it as buying peace of mind for 5 or 10 years down the road. Look at the people who bought silver at $20 a few years ago. They had to wait a long time for today. Patience is the key. And finally, invest in knowledge. Why is silver rising? Why is the dollar falling? When you understand how money flows, you won't be panicked by sensational headlines anymore. You'll see opportunity where others see risk. My friends, the financial world of 2025 is changing at breakneck speed. Silver hitting $75 or $79 is not just a temporary phenomenon. It is a sign of a shifting era. The era of real assets is taking the throne. I hope through today's story you not only got an update on some hot news, but also felt the pulse of the economy, and more importantly, found a safe direction for yourself and your family. Do not let yourself get swept away by the storm. Learn to build yourself a house of stone. Thank you for listening to my thoughts today. If you found this story interesting and helpful, please share it with your loved ones, because who knows, it might help someone protect their savings in this storm of rising prices. Keep a cool head and a warm heart. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next story.